All right, so we're diving deep today into what trips people up when they try to get better at guitar,
Ooh.
using How to Practice Guitar
Hmm.
by Sam Russell.
Great book.
I thought it was really interesting how he
Yeah.
kind of ties the psychology
Hmm.
of learning and creativity in
Yeah.
with practical guitar advice.
It's fascinating, right? How he blends that
Yeah.
practical stuff with these deeper insights into how our minds actually work when we're trying to learn something as challenging as guitar.
Yeah, one of the things that really struck me was how he busted that myth,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
the talent myth.
Totally.
You know, some people are just born guitar
Yeah.
prodigies.
Yeah.
He just completely dismantles that notion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made me wonder, is that one of the biggest hurdles for aspiring guitarists?
It definitely can be.
You know,
I think.
buying into this idea that they just don't have the natural gift.
Yeah. The book really highlights how we often fall into this trap of comparing our own progress to someone else's polished performance. Like, we see some guitar virtuoso effortlessly shredding, and we
Yeah.
think, oh, I'll never be that good,
Right.
without realizing that even those virtuosos were once beginners fumbling through basic chords.
Right.
It's a phenomenon called expert amnesia,
Expert amnesia.
and it can be a real progress killer.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So think about something that you do effortlessly now,
Okay.
like tying your shoelaces.
Okay.
You probably don't even think about it anymore, right?
Right.
But if you had to explain each step to someone who
Right.
had never done it before,
Yeah.
you might actually struggle to remember all the nuances. That's expert amnesia.
Huh.
Experts often forget what it was like to be a beginner.
That's such a good analogy.
Yeah.
So you're saying even experienced guitarists
Yes.
might forget the struggles of learning,
Exactly.
and that can make it hard to teach beginners effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They might unintentionally skip over crucial fundamentals or fail to break down complex techniques into manageable steps,
Okay.
leaving the student feeling lost and frustrated.
Yeah.
It's like trying to teach someone advanced calculus before they've even learned basic arithmetic.
Right. So understanding this expert amnesia thing can actually help us choose better learning resources.
For sure.
And be more patient with ourselves as learners.
Absolutely.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond this talent myth,
Yeah.
Russell talks a lot about mindset.
Yes.
He says approaching practice with the wrong attitude can be incredibly frustrating.
Totally.
So is that another roadblock for guitarists?
Absolutely.
Their own mindset?
Yeah. The book outlines 4 levels of mastering any skill.
Okay.
From conscious incompetence,
Mhm.
where you're aware of your struggles, all the way to subconscious competence, where you can just play effortlessly without even thinking.
Right.
And the key is understanding where you are in that journey and approaching practice accordingly.
Okay.
So if you're a beginner, it's crucial to practice slowly and deliberately at first to build that proper muscle memory.
Yeah.
But so many people try to rush the process
Right.
and end up feeling frustrated and discouraged.
He also talks about this mental resistance
Yeah.
we encounter when learning something new.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling of frustration
Mm.
or boredom when things aren't clicking right away.
Totally.
What are some practical ways to overcome that mental resistance?
Yeah.
And actually enjoy the practice process?
Well, first, it's important to acknowledge that resistance is a natural part of learning.
Okay.
So don't beat yourself up if you're feeling
Here's a quick advert for my book, How to Practice Guitar and Train Your Creativity. Over the last decade or so, I've taught hundreds of students locally in West London in the United Kingdom. I found that when it came to improving at guitar, there was one big thing that kept holding them back, and it was how they were practicing. Now, making changes to your practice routine and how you're practicing is nothing very technical, it's nothing challenging. Quite often, it's just lots of very simple things in how we are approaching practice. And by implementing these ideas, we can improve much, much faster than we did before. I wrote down all of the things I've been teaching my students for years in this 211-page book, How to Practice Guitar and Train Your Creativity, available in PDF and paperback, shipping worldwide. Just click the link in the description to find out more.
frustrated.
Yeah.
Instead, try taking breaks.
Okay.
When you need them, step away from the guitar, clear your head,
Okay.
and come back with a fresh perspective.
Okay.
It's also helpful to focus on those small victories.
Yeah.
Celebrate the progress you're making, no matter how small.
I like that.
Yeah.
Celebrate those small wins.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the big picture
Yeah.
and forget to appreciate those
Totally.
little steps along the way.
Yeah.
Speaking of missteps,
Yeah.
Russell does a great job
He does.
outlining common practice mistakes that can hinder progress,
Mm-hmm.
like neglecting the metronome, not isolating tricky sections, using random fingerings.
Yeah, these are all common mistakes that stem from
Yeah.
wanting to rush the process.
It's so tempting to jump ahead
Yes.
before mastering the fundamentals, but It seems like that's a recipe for frustration.
Totally. It's about quality over quantity.
Okay.
15 minutes of focused, distraction-free practice can be more beneficial
Right.
than an hour of just mindlessly noodling around
Okay.
and using a metronome.
Yeah.
Absolutely crucial for developing solid timing.
So it sounds like a lot of the challenges guitarists face come down to mindset
Uh-huh.
and approaching practice effectively.
That's a big part of it for sure.
Okay.
But Russell also introduces some unexpected approaches, like practicing without a guitar.
Practicing without a guitar. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it might sound kind of counterintuitive, but practicing away from the instrument can actually be incredibly beneficial.
Okay.
The book talks about techniques like mental visualization.
Yeah.
Basically, picturing yourself playing, hearing the music in your head, even feeling the finger movements,
Wow.
all without actually touching a guitar.
Okay. I have to admit, that sounds a little bit out there.
Yeah.
Does that really work?
It might sound a little strange, but mental visualization is a really powerful tool used by athletes and musicians alike.
Huh.
It helps you kind of internalize the music, training your mind to hear those notes and rhythms even when you're not physically playing. It's
Yeah.
almost like a mental rehearsal.
Okay.
And the book also suggests practicing rhythms by tapping them out on your leg or even like the seam of your jeans.
Capping on your jeans. That's a new one.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
all about internalizing those rhythms.
Exactly. It might seem silly, but these techniques can really help develop a deeper understanding of rhythm and coordination, which are essential for any guitarist.
Of course.
And this ties into another point that Russell makes,
Okay.
the importance of studying music theory.
So you're saying that neglecting the theoretical side of music is another roadblock for guitarists.
It certainly can be. Understanding music theory is like having a roadmap for your guitar journey.
Okay.
It helps you make sense of the fretboard, understand chord progressions, and even write your own music.
So we've talked about mindset,
Yep.
practice techniques, music theory.
Right.
Seems like a lot of these challenges revolve around how we approach learning and practicing.
Yeah.
But what about the creative side of things?
Yes.
Does Russell address any hurdles related to songwriting or
Sure.
finishing musical projects?
In fact, he dedicates a whole section of the book to completing projects,
Oh, wow.
which is something that a lot of guitarists struggle with.
Yeah.
It's easy to get excited about starting a new song or learning a complex piece,
Sure.
but seeing it through to completion requires a different set of skills.
So what are some of those roadblocks
Yeah.
that people encounter when trying to finish those musical projects?
Time management is a big one.
Okay.
Life gets busy, and it's easy to let practice and creative projects kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
So the book emphasizes the importance of setting realistic goals and carving out dedicated time to work on your music.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about making music a priority,
Right.
even amidst the chaos of everyday life.
Exactly. And then there are those knowledge gaps.
Okay.
Sometimes we kind of hit a wall in a project because we're missing a key piece of knowledge or a specific technique.
Okay, so what's the solution for that?
Don't be afraid to seek out resources.
Okay.
There are countless books, online courses, and even fellow musicians who can help you fill those gaps. It's about being proactive and resourceful.
Collaboration is huge. I've learned so much from jamming with other musicians,
Absolutely.
bouncing ideas off of them.
Yeah.
But what about that nagging voice of self-doubt?
Oh.
How do you deal with insecurity
Yeah.
and that fear of putting your work out there?
Right.
I think that's a big challenge for a lot of creative people.
You're absolutely right. Insecurity is a major roadblock,
Okay.
and it often stems from perfectionism.
Right.
We get so caught up in wanting everything to be flawless
Yeah.
that we're afraid to share our work with others.
So what's the antidote to this perfectionism?
The book encourages us to be prolific,
Okay.
to create more even if it's not perfect.
Right.
The more you create, the more you learn, and the better you become.
I see.
It's about embracing the process of learning and experimentation.
So it's about shifting the focus from the end product
Mm-hmm.
to the journey of creating.
Precisely. And that requires letting go of that need for everything to be perfect
Yeah.
and just allowing yourself to create freely.
I love that. It's
Or-
about embracing those imperfections
Yeah,
and seeing them as part of the creative process.
absolutely.
But it's not always easy to stay motivated,
Yeah.
especially when you're facing these challenges and setbacks.
Yeah.
What does Russell say about maintaining that long-term motivation
Yeah.
on the guitar journey?
Well, one of the things that Russell emphasizes is the importance of setting realistic goals.
Okay.
So instead of aiming for some massive, overwhelming objective,
Yeah.
like becoming the next Jimi Hendrix,
Right.
break it down into smaller, achievable steps.
I can see how that would be less daunting.
Right.
It's like setting those stepping stones along the path
Exactly.
instead of trying to leap across a chasm.
Yeah, and as you reach those smaller milestones,
Yeah.
celebrate those achievements.
Okay.
Acknowledge your progress.
Huh.
Give yourself credit for the effort you're putting in.
Those little wins can be such powerful motivators.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that forward momentum,
Yeah,
even if it's in small increments.
totally. And if you find yourself kind of stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to shake things up a bit.
Okay.
Explore new musical genres, experiment with different techniques, maybe even collaborate with other musicians. Variety can be incredibly inspiring and help rekindle that passion.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so fixated on our goals
Yeah.
that we forget to simply enjoy the process of making music.
That's why it's so important to kind of reconnect with that initial spark that drew you to guitar in the first place.
Okay.
What was it that made you pick up the instrument?
Right.
Was it the desire to express yourself creatively,
Yeah.
to connect with others through music,
Yeah.
or simply to experience the joy of playing?
Remembering that why can be so powerful.
Totally.
It's like tapping into that wellspring of inspiration.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that guitar is a lifelong journey.
Right.
There's always more to learn, new challenges to conquer, and fresh musical horizons to explore.
Yeah.
Embrace the process and savor the journey.
So after diving deep into how to practice guitar,
Yeah.
it seems like the biggest challenges facing aspiring guitarists aren't necessarily about lack of talent
Right.
or even time constraints.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
It's more about mindset, effective practice strategies, and cultivating a healthy relationship with the instrument.
It's about recognizing those common pitfalls
Right.
and developing the mental tools and techniques to overcome them.
Precisely. And as Russell reminds us, anyone who sticks to something long-term and takes their learning seriously is going to make incredible progress.
That's such an encouraging thought.
It is.
So for anyone listening who's ready to take their guitar playing to the next level,
Yes.
remember, consistent focused practice, a positive mindset, and a genuine love for the instrument.
Yeah.
That's the winning formula.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and keep that passion burning bright.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the challenges and triumphs of the guitar journey.
Awesome.
Until next time, keep those guitars humming.
Thanks for listening. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're interested in the book, you can check it out at the link in the description and use the discount code on screen.